Well, I love watching videos of myself as much as I like sticking a fork in my leg. That's how much I care about making this work, that I'm prepared to sit through that. What I want to talk to you about is kind of where we go next. You know, we've had a good setup. Ray was talking about the challenges that face professional associations of all types and the need to kind of really properly reinvent ourselves. And Paul was talking about what over the last 18 months we've been doing to take that really very, very seriously. And I want to talk about where we go next with you. Now, you are, like it or not, leaders in our community, right? You were, many of you, leaders long before I showed up, and I hope you will be leaders long after I've gone into the funny farm. You know, I
hope not.
Some of you might be allowed time off for good behaviour, right? But at the end of the day, this is about you as a leadership community, and that many of you have been making IT good for society for a very long time. And this is about recognising that and seeing that together we've got we've got something to do, something really quite important to do. So we've talked about, you know, I don't know how many of you have heard me talk about these challenges before. Yeah, there's quite a lot of you, so I'm not going to bore you to tears by starting from scratch on all of them. But what I want to talk to you a bit about is the kind of process, because you can go onto our website and you can see what all of those challenges are about. But you know, the thing that I've been doing is talking to our members, talking to other organisations, talking to a wide range of people. And the key question is, what can BCS do to make a difference, right? You know, we don't want to just, for the sake of a press release, join a bandwagon, right? We want to actually do things where there is a big problem that has social significance that we can actually do something to solve, right? So I've been going around, and one of the interesting things that people say is no one takes a long view, you know? No one actually starts from scratch and says, what does society need out of this? And so we've got a unique opportunity to do that and to bring people together in a unique, a genuinely unique, no one else can do it kind of way, and mobilise people together. And the point is that if we don't do that, you know, things will go wrong, or right things will not happen. You know, so if we, you know, my premise, my belief is that our members, you, the people you're connected to, our partner organisations, the people that are in those organisations in positions of power, that are our friends, that are our members, if we bring those people together and we don't just have a good time thinking and talking, but we actually lead to action, that we can go and change the world, right? I believe that, and the reason I believe that is not just because I'm a lunatic, which, you know, you can take as read, but because I've seen it happen, okay? On Friday, last Friday, I was very privileged to go to a trustees and friends dinner for the Raspberry Pi Foundation, and they were talking about what they've done there. You know, a lot of our members involved in that, and they've got 8 million computers out there. It's quite extraordinary, and they have the fastest single board computer and the lowest cost single board computer out there. £4 for a computer. And that was for a bunch of people sat in a room in about 2008, which myself and a few colleagues and a load of BCS fellows going, there's a big problem, right? We're teaching PowerPoint and Word to kids at school. We should be teaching them about how to change the world, you know. And that we've all heard about that. What I'm saying is those people in that room, what drove them was the belief that the fact that it was the right thing to do, not just for us as a community of professionals, but for the world. And they came together and they did it. And as I've walked around talking to people about things, you know, Ray, our president, is in a very powerful, important position in something that matters to a vast number of people in the UK, the most vulnerable in our society, right? And talking about the issues of IT capability, IT change programs there, you know, the fact that we cannot, as a community of professionals, define our outcomes in a structured way, the fact that we don't do that, is that a big problem? That has a huge impact on our friends and our neighbours, on the most vulnerable people in society, you know. And so here is a leader and a mission to help move that forward on capability. In personal data, you know, there is a really interesting thing that you see when you say, what do you want to do to your friends, your neighbours, your children, your parents, you know, around personal data? What kind of environment do you want to create? You want a trusted environment. You want one where they've got control and so on. And then you say, okay, stop for a second. What do you do in your day job about it? suddenly you've got a gap between what people want to do to their friends and neighbours and what they are doing in their professional life. And that's a big problem, right? And health and social care, we all know just how wonderfully well integrated and sorted from a digital point of view health and social care is. And we also know that as we get older that we don't need to worry about that. Or maybe there is a big thing to do there. And that one of the gaps has been a set of people who are not just technologists, but are people who straddle clinical and technological professions, nurses who are interested in information and IT, working together on shared goals for the patients, for the citizens, working in social services, in care homes, in GP surgeries and in hospitals and in the big central systems that run some of them. If we can create that sense of shared purpose, we can do amazing things that are at the moment not possible for anyone in so-called positions of power. So we can be that powerful force for good if we mobilise. So this is the sort of slide that the marketing team, you can spot them because they're now cringing and falling off their chairs because it's just I put together and it's a bit cheesy and awful. But the point that we want to make is that under that banner of making IT good for society, what we've got as those challenges that are good starters for 10, where they may even be the wrong ones, we may need to have new ones, we may need to have different ones, we may need to approach it differently. On that webpage, that is up now as a sort of a beta of our Making IT Good for Society pages, bcs.org/good-for-society. Under all of that, it's that you in this room, we need you to take this back and do something in your branches and your specialist groups. We also have these new formats in terms of the IT Impact event. You saw that video that Paul played. Now, what we were trying to do is make it look like it was quite exciting and that you might want to come along to it, right? Did you get that general feeling? I don't know. And I noticed in that video a certain Mr. Arthur Dransfield who was in there. Was it mildly entertaining coming along? It was mildly entertaining from that point of view. And what I loved about that is that we had some of the youngest people in our profession and people who've seen an awful lot of change. What was really interesting was seeing the commonality, the differences. The generation who. By the way, I was going to have a load of COBOL jokes. I realised in the first bit, I just probably not going to go down too well. But the people who were designing those systems, nobody needed to tell you about UX because you were kind of on the mainframe and then you walked and saw what actually happened to the people that you were doing to. There was a kind of a disintermediation and suddenly you're coming back together. And it's really interesting to see people rediscovering that sense of personal impact on their environment. And that was one of the things that I enjoyed about that event. Now, BCS Voices I'm going to come and talk to in much more detail, but the point is that you are the conduit to our members, right? If you do not believe in this, if you do not believe that we can together make IT good for society, if you don't believe that we mean it, if you don't believe that when you look around at each other in this room that everyone else wants that same thing, we will fail. But if you do, we can do this together. And we can not just reach our members and re-engage them, we can not just reach the young people that we want to get to, and involve in this and inculcate in our professional values and in that exciting mission. But we can go into our communities, we can engage in a broader dialogue so that the things that we're doing to people are being done with people rather than just in ignorance of those impacts. And we can have a change so we can say, without BCS, the world would not be the world it is today. That's the future that we want for this organisation, right? So, BCS Voices. Now, one of the biggest things the biggest gaps that we have in what our members say they want and what they can do is actually meeting together. And we know it's difficult for people to meet together. And you, as people who are running events, you know how hard, how much energy and time and commitment it can be and what some of those challenges are. So what we really want to do is put getting together in the hands of everyone, but we want to start with you. So I'm just going to ask Olivia Tan, who's been working on this, to come, and I've got a couple of questions that I need to remember to ask her. Olivia, here we go. I think you've got a microphone. Excellent. That's perfect. So Olivia works in the fantastic member groups team, and Olivia has been responsible for going from no student chapters through to developing the model, and we now have, it's 27 student chapters. So Olivia has helped build that community and works with our student chapters. Now, I'll tell you what, those students, getting them together, you believe in the future, right, don't you? Because they are very excited about this. They're very driven by the kind of values that we'd hope. But BCS Voices, when we started out, what were we looking to achieve?
So I think the main thing that we're looking to achieve is really just to get you guys meeting and talking and engaging with the challenge issues. The whole point of it is to provide you with a toolkit to make that whole process easier for you. These challenges are great, but we can't, and I don't think we should be working on them just between ourselves. If we're here to make IT good for society, then we need to involve you guys as members of society. And I think the other thing is, like David just said, it's hard to meet. So at the moment, if you want to hold an event with BCS, then you need to get yourself in a position to be elected on the committee, then you need to be working with them on their programme of events for the year, and you need to make sure that you can fully commit that time to it, like Ray was saying about the individualistic culture and the way that people's time for volunteering is going down. So the other problem with that is that with the way the branches are structured, some of the areas are quite vast. So, for example, Sussex is a massive area, and they have there's no criticism of them, but they have their meetings in Brighton. If you're from Crawley, that's quite a distance to come. But why should our members in Crawley be, disadvantaged by that? So we want to kind of empower everyone to get involved with this, regardless of area or geography or whatever.
Yes, and so how's it going? You started with nothing, now you've run some. What's the experience been like?
Yeah, so we've run a handful of pilots and they've gone really well. I think I've worked quite closely with the people who have organised those, which when we roll it out on a larger scale, there wouldn't be so much of like a one-to-one help with that, but it's gone really well. They've been really well attended, and there's been some really good feedback as well, so yeah, it's been good.
And what's been the best bit as far as you're concerned?
I think the best bit has been the enthusiasm from the people organising it and from the people attending, and that people do really want to get involved with it and are continuing to want to. They're going along to these things and they're having a good time. The people who have organised them have done a great job, so yeah.
So what no one else would have seen, but what I've seen is inside the sort of the staff organisation, that you've kind of taken what people have said and you've been championing those views, not to the point of actually beating up our policy team that you sit amongst, but I've seen it come close a couple of times, so why do you think that's so important?
So I think that, with the challenges, we've been working with external organisations and so on, but I think it's really important, like I said before about society, it's really important to have someone within the organisation that can bring your views to the table as well, because working with experts is one thing. I'm not saying that you're not experts, but working with experts in particular areas is one thing, but then you definitely need to bring other people's voices to the table as well. So I think that the BCS Voices vehicle is a way to do that. That's great. Thank you very much, cool. Olivia. Do you want to keep that for quick? Yes. So I'd just like you to, just say thank you to Olivia, who's done a fantastic job. Because, what I have seen is that the not only just people having a great time, but, kind of ordinary member on the street, may say an awful lot of things that we already know, but there's always something new and different. And what there is a real kind of, there's a seam of gold to mine in all of that, and that's what Olivia's doing. But, Olivia is part of Judith Taylor's team at the back, part of the member group's team, who I know that you all love, right? So it's not just about Olivia. Olivia is part of this team that is committed to making all of this work for you. So I just want to say thank you to all of them, and if you want to show your appreciation for them now, thank you. So their job is to get good at supporting you in this new way of working, and they're working with local branches to do that. So this is about getting members to be able to meet wherever they want, but it's not about doing that as an alternative to our branches and specialist groups. So it's a question of doing it with them. So we've piloted this with a number of groups. Now, Claire Hopton has been kind enough to volunteer to volunteer to come and talk a little bit about the experiences in Manchester of running it. So thank you very much for doing that. If I can. So how was the morale in the Manchester branch?
So you came to see us in October.
Yes.
We had our first Think Shop or BCS Voices in November. We had another one in February. Yes, I mean, the new strategy we're really enthusiastic about, and we really needed to just get the Think Shop up and going.
I mean, from my point of view, you know, going to Manchester branch, you never know what you're going to expect with a lot of people you don't know.
Yes.
And you all look determined but tired was my kind of...
Yes,
was my
that's
feeling, right?
I mean,
And-
what's actually happened is that with the new strategy, what you were talking about, what we've been able to do is really look at our activities and see, are they actually aligning with the new strategy? And we've been able to drop some of the activities that we've been doing and putting resources into other things. So it was inspirational.
So running what was a think shop, which we're launching as BCS Voices,
Yeah.
you know, how did you find the organisation of it?
Difficult, really. My two challenges, perceived challenge was, how was I going to get IT people to talk? So I managed to get it in a pub, in the local pub. And I also got a facilitator as well. She knows nothing about computers, but actually she was absolutely brilliant, keeping us on time, getting the questions out, getting the feedback. The scribe was fabulous. It was just a great event.
So you were worried before that people wouldn't talk,
Yes.
but was that...
But actually the facilitator was trying to shut us up.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
to be honest, I've been to a lot of events with IT people, and that getting them to
It's
talk
difficult.
isn't
Yeah.
generally a problem. I find. But you know, I mean, it's great to have something, you know, crunchy to sort of to talk about. And I mean, you know, what do you think that we need to improve and think about as we go forward with this?
So running the event was brilliant. It was I wasn't expecting the outcome. So I didn't really do very much with that. If I had some quick wins, as well as the institutional change for head office, that would have been great for the branch, I think. So that was my challenge. That was one of the things that I wish I could have done some quick wins in some of the things that they were talking about with regards to recruitment.
Yes.
We had employers there, we had candidates there, but we didn't have any recruitment agencies there.
Yes.
And maybe they would have added to the discussion, but maybe it would have turned into a blame culture, which is what I didn't really want.
Yeah. No. Fair enough. But I mean, you know, so would you do it again?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and do you think, how do you as a sort of a branch feel about the future of meeting up in the Manchester area now?
Absolutely fabulous. We just need to get some of those strategies in place for some quick wins.
Yes,
for some of the
absolutely.
discussions afterwards.
No, great.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
all
thank
good.
you very much.
Thank
I think, so my experience, yes, thank you. So my experience from that point of view was actually, it was fantastic. Going up and meeting a branch committee, talking about, you know, what I'm passionate about, what they're passionate about, and where it fits together, and then walking away terrified in the realisation that we really had to deliver on some of this together. But you know, the feedback that we've had from those events is very encouraging. But you know, I think that it's totally natural to feel a certain sense of trepidation before you run something like this and not know how it's going to work. And what we really wanted to give you was a chance to see what it feels like, which is why Olivia is going to be running one of these events this afternoon that you can come. And it's not going to be like a normal one of these because there's too many of you, right? But you're going to get a sense of it, because what we really want you to do is take this format and start playing with it. So another thing that we're just starting out to pilot is Speak Truth to Power, where power is kind of local representatives. Most MPs and councillors don't feel very powerful, but you know, they kind of look like it. So, you know, as well as being able to take what we're doing on the challenges, discuss it in your branch, in your specialist group, in little meetings across the areas that you cover, and then feed back into them and tell us whether we got them right or wrong, see what people think about them. Then once we've got that, what we're going to be doing is giving you kind of talking points, but also the context, the framework to operate in, to build a long-term relationship with people in your area who are representing people. Now, do you think MPs are generally highly digitally literate and savvy? Do you think that this is a good thing for our country? Do you know anyone who can help? And this is a serious problem, right? And on a corporate basis, we can target the critical parliamentarians who are really working on digital, and we can form relationships with them. We have done. We will do that more, and we've got loads more to talk about than we ever have. You know, back in November, I had an event. I was sat next to an MP we've been talking to who's very influential on this. And they were telling me just how much they like what we're doing in making IT good for society. They were really interested in the personal data. challenge and what we were saying about it, and we were having a discussion about how to get it into their party's process for their manifesto together. So it's a conjoining conversation. But what we want to do is have that with 600 MPs, with local councillors, with members of the Scottish Parliament, and any kind of regional representation or national representation that makes sense. So we are picking a couple of places to try this out, but we're also looking for branches to volunteer to sort of take part in pilots. Because, I can imagine what you're thinking, right? You're going, I'm fine, but I look around the room and some of these people, I'm not sure, I want them talking to an MP. Because we're a bit terrified of each other, in some ways. And actually, this is going to be quite exciting to be building those relationships. Because it's not going to be going along and saying, you MP, you're an idiot, you don't know anything about this, and I've got 15 different things that are, 8 of which are my own personal opinion and wildly at odds with the rest of the membership. That I want to kind of give you a hard time about. It's actually about turning up to these people and saying, there's stuff going on right now in your local area or in Parliament that we know something about that we'd like to help you about, but we'd like to help you over the longer term, so that you're starting to build a relationship, so that at a local level, when your representatives have an issue to do with technology and needing someone to help them, to hold their hand through it, not to lobby them, but to help them, that they've got someone to turn to. Do you think, does that sound like a good idea? Was that something you'd like to participate in? We need to do it on a bit of a collective basis. We need to be careful as we move forward, supporting each other and making sure that it's going well. So we're going to be starting that. So it's the same thing as with BCS Voices. We've got an idea, we know where we want to get to. We're going to work with people in this community to develop our thinking together. Staff and volunteers, members, all sorts of people working together for a single aim. So this is going to take a bit of time for us to sort of go through the cycles and pilot, but we'd love you to be involved. And I think that you need to see that this is about you. This is not something that we as a staff team you can inflict and you can be passive about. You have to take this forward, otherwise we won't be successful. And that takes me to kind of where I want to finish, which is that this is a journey. As we started today, Ray was talking about the challenges that face organisations like us and just how deep we need to go into understanding ourselves. We are not turning around and giving you finished pieces of work. We are doing this together with you, right? It is a journey. We want you to take hold of these opportunities as they arise. Go to that website, bcs.org/good4society, sign up, get in contact with the member groups team about piloting BCS Voices, about talking to your local representatives. Look on that website and see the challenges that we've got, see the outputs that we've got. For example, on the personal data challenge, we had a really great workshop which had a huge variety of experts, didn't it, Ian? Yes. And that was a great day. We had someone who was doing a global report for Facebook on their relationship with personal data and civil society. We had the privacy officer for GDS Verify. We had the head of digital for the National Audit Office. We had someone from the Caldecott Review on patient consent. People who'd never met each other talking about the social goal around personal data together. So you can go and run an event in your branch, taking that content, seeing what you think, feeding back, and then Olivia will kill anyone who tries to stop us taking that and changing what we're doing. We've got people on the staff who are championing your views inside the organisation. So take those opportunities. We need you, but it's like we need each other, right? That's the whole point of this. You can do this, right? We've got volunteers who are trying these things and being successful and having a good time doing it. It's not easy, but it is very, very good. And these kind of models are going to be the sort of things that reach out to a new type of person within the profession, within our communities. So we can do it. Go and play with it. Experiment is what I would like you to do. Now, so we have about 25 minutes left. What I would like you to do, if it's okay, is you've got pencils and paper on your tables. Have a discussion about how you would want to use this, either within your local geographic area or in your subject area or whatever you want. And just try and talk through with the people around you how you would like to use some of these ideas. Write them down, and what I'm going to do is we're going to collect that up, and then in the afternoon I'll come back and give you a sort of a summary of the kind of the themes that have emerged. And if you really want to, You know, you can write down saying you're going to do something, all right, about it. This is not a legally binding contract or anything else like that. It's just a useful exercise of walking out here with a determination to do something. And then if we do that for about, till about, yes?
15 minutes, because we've got some time for questions and answers.
Yes.
For our panel.
Yes, absolutely. I was going to say till about past, and then we'll collect those pieces of paper at the end of the session. And so if you've got any more ideas as you go, just write them down, and then we'll have 10 minutes to sort of wrap up our Q&A. But you know, I think this is about today starting a very different way of BCS operating with you together. If you're passive, if it will fail, and I know you don't want to be. So this afternoon, have some fun at that event and go out with a plan to do something about it, please. And thank you.